Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar Build an AI Scheduler in React, Automate Appointments and Save Time. I'm Shriram Shankaran, Senior Product Manager at Syncfusion, and in today's webinar we will explore how to use the Syncfusion React Scheduler component with the Smart Pace feature to transform natural language into structured calendar events, making appointment management smarter and more efficient. Whether you are a developer, tech enthusiast, or someone looking to streamline scheduling with AI, you are in for an exciting session. So here's what we will cover today: a brief overview of Syncfusion's AI-ready toolkit, followed by a hands-on walkthrough of building an AI-driven scheduler using the Smart Pace component. Then the key takeaways, and finally the time to answer your questions. Before we dive into the demo, let's take a moment to explore Syncfusion's AI-ready toolkit. So this toolkit is designed to accelerate AI app development with pre-built AI-powered UI components, seamless integrations, and robust support. And here are the highlights. First, we will start with Smart AI components. Components like Smart Pay, Smart TextArea, and AI AssistView are built to integrate with AI models like OpenAI, Azure AI, Anthropic, or Gemini. Smart Paste, which we will demo today, enables intelligent clipboard pasting to populate form fields or scheduler events with contextual accuracy, thus boosting productivity for applications like CRMs or schedulers. With respect to the supported frameworks, the toolkit supports multiple frameworks including React, Angular, Vue, Blazor, JavaScript, ASP.NET Core, and .NET MOVI, ensuring flexibility for developers across platforms. Now coming to the AI-ready UI controls, beyond Smart Pace, components like the data grid, chart, scheduler, PDF viewer, word processor, rich text editor, and so on are AI enhanced, offering features like smart sessions, automated insights, and predictive interactions. For example, the scheduler component simplifies meeting planning with AI-driven event creation. Now coming to the additional AI tools, Syncfusion Code Studio, an AI-powered code editor, accelerates coding with features like autocomplete, UI generation, and support for large code bases. Syncfusion Helpbot provides 24/7 contextual support with code snippets and API details, saving developers time. So this toolkit empowers developers to build smarter, modern applications, and today's demo will showcase how the Smart Pace component enhances the React scheduler. So in today's demo, we'll build a dynamic scheduling interface using the Syncfusion React scheduler, and here's what you will see. We will input casual text like an email or a conversation with meeting details and watch the Smart Pace component convert it into a structured calendar event. We will integrate Smart Pace with the scheduler to populate a dialog with AI pass data ready to be saved as an appointment. By the end, you will see how this setup creates a seamless, user-friendly scheduling experience. With respect to the prerequisites, you will need Visual Studio Code for editing and running the code, the latest versions of Node.js and React. Also ensure you have access to Azure OpenAI service and have set up a deployment in the Azure portal. Okay, now let's move to the live demo. For that, let me open the Visual Studio Code as the first step. The project that you see on screen is a new React application set up by me in TypeScript environment using the Create React app. With respect to the changes already made to the project, I've installed the required Syncfusion React component packages in the application. So packages related to tab and button components have already been installed, while packages related to the other components to be used would be installed as we code. I've also installed the OpenAI package, which provides access to the OpenAI REST API. Following that, I've added the Tailwind theme style sheet in the index.html file, as you can see on screen. I've also added a new file named azureconfig.ts, which contains the confidential information of the Azure OpenAI configuration details like endpoint, API key, deployment, and API version. And finally, I've registered the Syncfusion license key in the index.tsx file. So the details of this step can be found in Syncfusion's EJ2 React documentation. I'll just show that to you on screen right now. So before having a look at the already available code in the app.tsx file, which is the next file where changes are already available, what I will do is I'll just run the application. So this is the file. I'll just run the application and I will show you the demo. So let me now run the application. As you can see, the Syncfusion tab component has been rendered with two tabs, namely meeting contents and schedule. The meeting contents tab consists of three card-like sections, each with a header and a content area. The header consists of the meeting title and a button to schedule appointment. And the content area consists of the meeting details in the form of a conversation or email. The schedule tab is empty as of now, where I will be rendering the Syncfusion schedule component. Okay, let's navigate back to the app.tsx file. So as you can see, I've added reference to tab component instance. This is the code, followed by the content used in the three card-like sections in the meetings tab to be used for the buttons click event. Following that, we have the design for the meetings tab. So you have the header and the content section. This is the header section and this is the content section. So Syncfusion button component has been used for scheduling the appointment, as you can see. So almost the same code with different content has been used for the other two cards. Then we have the parent container div in which the Syncfusion tab component has been rendered. So this is the Syncfusion tab component. You have the meeting contents and the schedule tabs over here. Okay. So with that, we have explored the base code already available in the application. Now let's move on to installing the packages of the other Syncfusion components to be used. So the first component would be schedule. Followed by dialog, then DateTimePicker, and finally toast. Okay, the packages have been installed successfully. Now what we will do is we will just import them to the app.tsx file. Okay, So now I will add references to the recently imported components instance. I'll just start with the schedule component, followed by tab, sorry, the dialog. Next, the toast component. Now the buttons. Next, I will introduce a variable to be used as the schedule component's data source. So let's proceed to code that. Okay. Now let's render the schedule component. I'll just navigate the specific section. So I just added a function similar to the meeting contents. Next, I will set the other properties like height, followed by selected date, then the current view. Now I'll proceed to set the data source for the component. I will now inject the necessary services. Okay. So now I will provide the schedule function to the tab component to be rendered in the second tab, since we have like coded the function schedule. So I'll just navigate. Okay. So now that the schedule component related code has been added, let's have a look at the demo. I'll just run the application. There you go. We have the schedule component rendered in the second tab. So let's now introduce the AI related code in the application. So for that, what I will do is I will add a new file named AI models.ts. So let's proceed to add that. Okay. First, I will import Azure OpenAI client from the OpenAI package. Then I will import Azure configuration values from the Azure config.ts file. Azure API key, Azure endpoint has already been added, Azure deployment, and the API version. I will now assign configuration values to local constants. Following this, I will create Azure OpenAI client instance with the configuration. Finally, I will add the function to handle the chat completion requests. So this function creates chat completion using Azure OpenAI, as you can see on screen, and it returns the content of the first generated message. So with that done, let's import this function into the app.tsx file. Okay, so what we can do now is let's add the design and events related to the Syncfusion dialog component to be used in the application. So I'll just navigate to the design section now. and add the necessary code. Okay, so the dialog component has been like added. The dialog contains a form with 5 key fields. So it starts with subject, location, start time and end time, which uses the Syncfusion DateTimePicker components, description, and finally we have the save and cancel buttons too. So I've also introduced the Syncfusion Smart Paste button component, which is hidden for automated field population. And as you can see, each form field in the dialog consists of a property named data smart paste description. So this provides AI processing instructions for the smart paste feature, and it guides the Azure AI request handler on how to process input for each field. For example, let's take the location field. So what it does is that it tells AI to only populate this field when location information is detected in pasted content, as you can see on the screen. So now let's add the Azure AI request handler. I'll just proceed to add the specific code. So this basically calls the get Azure Chat AI request function introduced in the AI models.ts file. As you can see, following this, we will add the necessary events related to the dialog component. So we just added it. So the created event makes the dialog header and content visible, as you can see. The close dialog event resets the value of each field in the dialog on close. And the open dialog function shows a loading spinner on the dialog element. What it does then is that it triggers a click event on the smart paste button, following which it hides a spinner when subject field is filled. So now let's add the function to be bound to the schedule appointment button click. I'll just navigate and add it. So this function copies provided content to clipboard and shows a dialog. So what we can do is, let's now bind this function to the schedule appointment buttons click event. So just navigate. The first card's content would be like provided as the input, followed by the second card content. Let's add the necessary code. And finally the third card content. Okay. What I will do now is I will now initialize the loading spinner on dialog element and handle dialog closure via the cancel button. For this, I'll just navigate to the specific section and add the necessary code. Finally, I will add some predefined styles I have on my end in the app.css file. Okay, now let's run the application and see the demo of the code, what we have coded till now. Now when I click on the schedule appointment button, the respective fields in the dialog would be filled correctly based on the content available in the respective card, as you can see over here. I've just tried for the second card too. The necessary details have been like filled based on the second card. Now I'll add the necessary code related to transform the details available in the form as an event in the schedule component. So as a first step, I will add an interface that defines the structure for calendar items. I'll just proceed to add it. Now I will define the on event render, which gets triggered before each of the events gets rendered on the scheduler user interface. So this customizes appearance of specific calendar appointments. Okay. Now that is done, I will define the form submission handler. For that, I will add a function called switch tab, which switches to the second tab. Now I'll add the form submit event. So the code added over here, what it does is that it collects the form values, creates a new event object, updates event array, and finally the schedule component. So now I'll link the save button to form submission. So let's navigate to the necessary function. Okay, let's now add the toast component in the design section. So just navigate again. As the final step, I will now define the tab selected event for the tab. So what this code does is that it refreshes the schedule component when the second tab is selected, and it shows success stores for the newly scheduled event. Okay, we are done with the coding part. Let's have a look at the complete demo. I'll just run the application. I will now click on the save button. As you can see, we got the success toast as coded, and the event has been successfully added. Okay, and with that, we have reached the end of our demo. As we wrap up our webinar, let's recap the core insights and key takeaways from today's session. We have explored how to harness the power of Syncfusion's AI-ready toolkit, especially the React scheduler and Smart Pace component to create intelligent, efficient scheduling applications that transform how users manage appointments. We delved into the Syncfusion React scheduler, showcasing how the Smart Pace component converts casual text into structured calendar events with contextual accuracy. So this AI-driven feature, powered by integrations with models like Azure OpenAI, it streamlines data entry and enhances productivity for applications like CRMs or scheduling tools. So with that, we have come to the end of this session.